Look at this weird thing computer nerds are dealing with. Hey, welcome to episode 170 of Front Seat Gamer. I'm here with Blake.
Hey.
And Paul.
Hey.
Hi, guys.
Hey, how's it going? You did that reverse.
Did I? Or did I?
You normally go
new
Paul,
order.
You normally go Paul and then me, and I was like not prepared.
Yeah.
You thought you had an extra second?
Yeah.
You're just zoning out?
Yeah, I was looking at the levels of the thing, and then you saw my head. My head was fully turned away
That's
from you.
true. I did see that. You were looking at the computer. Interesting choice. You know what? I wanted to keep you on your toes.
Well, you succeeded.
Great. How's it going?
I don't know what's going to happen now.
What have I been playing? No. What have you guys been playing this week?
I finished up my run in No Man's Sky.
Okay.
Where last week I was saying I was trying their expedition mode, which is like a timed event. I think you have like 8 weeks or something, and I jumped in when there was like 5 weeks left.
And you still finished it?
And I finished it. It only took like 2 weeks all up really of playing. It was great. It towards the end got a bit of a drag because like I was saying last time, there are these goals that you have to achieve for each sort of phase. There's 5 phases, and there's like 8 goals in each phase. And a lot of them I just finished naturally just by playing the game. And even just being like, okay, I'm going to go for this goal, I will just naturally complete like 3 other goals doing it. But there were a few towards the end that I had left that I needed to go on the Reddit and be like, how do I complete these? You know, and I felt like it was kind of cheating. But at the same time, this is a community event.
Right.
So it was kind of the community getting together.
I don't mind that personally.
And I still had to the one that had me stumped the longest was finding a herbivore of a certain size. I had to find a 7 foot tall herbivore. And I had just been going from the whole time.
That feels like a real crapshoot, right? Like there's no...
No, because it's all randomly generated.
No control over that.
You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
There is some slight control because the star systems have different colored stars. And different colored stars have different sort of quality of planets and creatures.
Okay.
So, like
So you could tell by the color of a star if it's going to have large herbivores.
It would have a higher possibility of having something interesting, basically, which would be a giant herbivore. And so I was going to all these like blue stars, which is the top tier star.
Yeah.
And just finding things, and I kept seeing giant ones and being like, this has got to be the one. And then I'll click on it and
6'9".
Yes, and it'd be like 7 foot something, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm like so close. Like I have to find like 8 foot or something.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, I've been doing this for like too long now.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go on Reddit, and people are asking the same question: where can I find it? And you still have to actually find it. It can't just be like, oh, just do this and then that's it.
Yeah.
It was like, here is the portal coordinates to a planet that has these on. So then I have to find a portal.
Yeah.
And then I have to activate the portal. Then I have to go through the portal. And then I have
to come out of the portal.
Then I have to come out of the portal.
Yeah.
But then I still have to search the planet. You know, so it's not just like, oh, do this one thing and then that's it.
Yeah.
It's like, here's
a bunch of steps, and then now you have the chance to look around
now if you look around, you'll 100% find it if you look around enough.
On the portals to one specific planet, though. Right? So
yeah.
the planet itself is guaranteed.
Yeah, the planet. It's basically saying the planet itself is guaranteed to have this.
Yeah.
You just have to find it.
Okay.
Is there much variance within a species in terms of size?
Yes.
So like you could, in theory, if you found like a planet that has like 6 foot herbivores, you might find a 7 or 8 or whatever.
Well, yes, but
on that same
it
planet.
will. It's what the scanner seems to do is basically, even if you scanned one of these creatures that was like the baby version,
Yeah.
it will still register it as its like highest version. because that species, that's the highest it can grow to.
Okay.
It's not like find this one specific creature. It's find the species.
Species that
Okay.
can grow
Yeah,
above.
so that's why I was landing on planets, and even if I saw small creatures, I was still scanning them because
Yeah.
like that could just be the baby version
Yeah.
of a giant creature.
Yeah, look at this worm. It could eventually be 7 feet tall.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And that was fun, and I got the rewards for it, and then I went back to my main save, and then I cashed out those rewards,
Uh-huh.
and it was good. And I got a bunch of decorations, which was fine.
Yep.
I mean, not as cool. You can see past expedition rewards,
Yeah.
which I don't know why they do that because you can't actually get them. You can't do past expeditions, but a bunch of them are like cool as cosmetics to make yourself look like a robot man. And there's like people walking around with like these robot staffs and stuff that I'm like, this is like the coolest thing.
Sorry, just real quick. A robot staff.
Yeah.
Is that just like a metal pole?
Yeah. With some wires and some like little battery things on it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
With it just a light.
It's just yeah, it's just walking around with an LED.
It's a really long flashlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were really cool. But like I see people walking around as that, and I'm like, that's so cool. Can't get it. But then it makes the thing. I guess it makes the thing more special because I guess it's like the supporter packs that we have, where it's like if you don't get it, then you don't get it.
Yeah, the difference I think is you don't. There's no like.
There's no like
game advertisement of the product you can't.
Yeah,
get
it's just
anywhere.
like saying, look what you missed out
players.
on.
The fear of missing out of it, though, right? Still, like, it'll make you more likely to play the next one.
Yeah,
Because what if
yeah.
the next one's got the thing that...
But I also
I think it might make some people do that, but I also think it might make some people go, "Well, I missed out on all these cool rewards.
Yeah.
Why bother?"
But you can also see the rewards that you'll get as well. So if I play when the next one comes out, I'll just look at the rewards and see, do I want any of these?
Yeah.
And then I'll decide for myself.
Now, I already know the answer to this.
Yeah.
Because we talked about this
Yeah.
earlier in the week. But you went back to your main character with your fancy rewards that
Yep.
you earned.
Yep.
You cashed them in.
Yep.
And then
Well, so then, no, I did play.
you did?
I
Okay.
did. Since we spoke,
Was this despite me specifically?
this was be like, yep. Be like, I'll show
I'll show
Nick.
Nick.
But
I do want to play my main character.
when we did speak, which was I think
Yeah.
on Wednesday, I hadn't played since
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
I have played since then.
Okay.
And the reason I've played is because during that expedition run, I feel like it was kind of like a condensed experience.
Yeah.
Because I very quickly became like actually better off than I was in my main game.
Uh-huh.
And part of it was finding a sentinel ship. And sentinels are sort of like these robot police
Yep.
that are on every planet
Uh-huh.
and in space. And they'll attack you if you kill the wildlife too much, like stuff like that. Or if you,
Yes.
and you can land on planets where it'll just say like aggressive sentinels and they'll just attack you on sight.
Yeah, I remember that.
And there's,
Although they used to just be cubes, I think.
yeah, so they have they have a lot of different like forms now.
Yeah.
So there's the sort of like little one-eyed drone guy that's like buzzing around. They're usually the ones you see most. And
Yeah.
if you kill one of them, a whole squad of like armored drones and repair drones like show up.
Okay.
So fighting them ends up having strategic. You need to be strategic about it because you start shooting one and a repair drone comes and starts healing it. So you got to take out the repair drones first,
Yeah.
then take out the like main drones. Then it's like a GTA star system, like the not
What?
like a
G-
wanted system
Yeah.
of stars.
Okay. I was like, I mean, they've had some updates to GTA Online, but I don't remember.
When was the last time you played GTA? Like, oh my god. And so yeah, you go through these like wanted stages, and each stage has a different type of sentinel that comes at you, and one of them is like the big dog from Boston Dynamic.
Yeah.
One of those things starts.
Uh-huh. Well, I'll tell
Coming
you
at
what,
you.
don't try and kick it on the side. That's not going to do anything.
Yeah, and it's got a laser and like it lasers you, and it can jump around and like jumps at you and stuff. And then the final one is like these big, like Star Wars like two-legged walker things
Uh-huh.
that are like they'll just wreck you, but they like they drop this like walker brain thing. So it's like there's a which can be used for like I don't know something. I've yet to find a use for it, but it's basically like a resource. So there is like a reason for like going through these, like hunting these things. But yeah, so what I found was a crashed one of their ships.
Yeah.
And I repaired it. And then I was flying around with this like awesome as like ship that is like way better than the ship I have in my main game.
Yeah.
And it's like jump distance is like double what I like it's like warp distance to another star is like double what I have.
Like, I'm really worried. It's making me kind of want this game.
Finally, it's only taken 7 years. So I started playing again, and I was hunting down one of those ships.
Yeah.
Because you have to go to the star map and find they only show up in particular star systems that have like I can't remember what it's called, like a dissident or something tag.
Okay.
Like it's
There's
labeled.
so there's some way to tell.
Yeah, there's a way to tell that like one of these things is gonna. There's at least a planet on there that is a corrupted sentinel planet.
Right.
And these have like weird resources growing out of the ground, like these weird purple crystals, and the purple crystals are things that like fuel the actual like sentinel ship that you get. So
so you need to gather a bunch of
you
them
basically need to
work.
gather it because the sentinel ship runs on different stuff than your normal ship.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean that once you have your sentinel ship, the dynamic of the game is now like hopping between these planets to keep yourself fueled up?
Yes, but that's actually more fun than.
I mean, that does sound fun.
That is way more fun than how you would normally do it in a normal ship, which is just like go down to a planet, find enough resources to craft like a bunch of like warp core, like warp cores, and then warp to the next.
So, what you've highlighted there is something that I think really appeals to me, which is like essentially branching tech with repercussions for the choices you make. Like, you can build this mining tool or this other mining tool, and whichever one, like they specialize in different resources, and those resources will result in different tools for flying, which require different fuels, and will unlock like different weapons, which are better at different things, and then it starts this sort of directing your choices about how you navigate that galaxy. To me, that is much more interesting than essentially like, here's a procedurally generated map, and you can go anywhere, and it's kind of a dice roll what you find there, but you'll probably be fine. That seems boring to me.
Yeah.
What if it's more like, okay, because of these choices, you can use your scanner, you can see these are going to be some possibly lucrative planets for you, and the rest of them maybe not so much, but you never know.
Yeah.
That's more interesting, where it's like I actually have some sense of direction.
Yeah.
And it's because of the choices I made.
Yeah. It's it's really cool, and it just makes me want to play the game more. Again.
Okay, how much is it?
I don't.
Oh God, a week.
I'm not sure now. I'm not sure. Something else as well with that is that while I was on during the expedition, when I first landed on one of these Sentinel planets, I found like a crashed satellite with like a half-dead robot man. Like,
what does a half-dead robot look like?
It's like the torso of a robot man.
Oh, okay. Well, he could be perfectly alive. You never know.
And I gave him some resources, and then he gave me a binary number. And I have been writing these binary numbers down because each person I found, he says, the first one I found, he said 8th, and then there was a binary number. So I wrote down 8, and there's a binary number. And those numbers do correspond to a letter. And so far, I don't know how many there are, but each time I've been writing them down.
You've been writing them down.
Yeah.
The game doesn't automatically record these.
Nope.
That annoys me a little bit.
Oh, I like that a lot more.
I want to be able to. I mean, look, there should at least be an option to be like, record, copy, or something like, and save within the game. I don't want to have to.
There is something about having to get out like a pen and paper, right? That.
For a different kind of game, yes, but this is a sci-fi game where you should like it is stepping outside of the bounds of the game to do a chore, which could be done in the game world
Yeah.
very very quickly and easily.
Well, they have puzzles. They have extremely simple puzzles that are basically like that are just basic maths or
Yep.
basic pattern recognition.
Sure.
That do require me at times to pull up a calculator app outside of the game.
I was just thinking of Elden Ring. I grabbed up my notebook and I was
Oh,
tracking
yeah.
like random little notes to go and check out
Now,
places and things.
See,
And like
Elden
me-
Ring is a perfect example of a game where it makes sense, because like you might not find paper and pen, and you know there's no
Yeah.
implicit recording device.
But like I'm okay with it being sort of kind of fourth wall breaking, I guess, and having to do something outside of the game to. That's not really the right term, but
I do see what you're saying, and I think look.
it's the acknowledgement that you're playing a game, but you're still having to do something outside of it to keep track of what's going on.
Yes. I think that's
kinda
great.
like it.
I did this like. Do you remember The Witness?
Yep.
Like I had a notepad that had a bunch of like,
Yeah.
like the like puzzle things that I was like trying to figure out. Like
Yeah.
this, I needed a notebook to complete that game.
That again, that's totally fine. But does The Witness have like a star log?
No,
Does it have like a digital map within it?
no, but
Like that's kind of my point. Is like
yeah.
if the game world implies that it could record a thing,
Hmm.
then like making you then do the
Well, I don't know if I have to record them.
okay.
You know, because I
You
have
might
not.
get to the thing and it might just autocomplete because you
Yeah,
found them.
it
all.
might just be. It might just say you have found these ones.
Yeah.
and then I'll be well. I recorded that for nothing
Yep.
essentially,
Fair.
but
I-
it's fun.
I look some of the very first games I played were the kind of like draw your own map as you're playing
Yeah.
kind of games, and there's like a really cool element to that. It is it speaks to the like inner adventurer
Yeah,
Mm.
and like the problem solving skills of like going out on your own and doing these things.
Mm.
It really is more to me about making that fit within the setting.
Mm.
And I think, for example, having binary, it can stay in binary.
Mm.
It can just be like you have like a little internal pad of paper.
I
that is
guess.
like a list of binaries you found or whatever.
Well, all you need is the. Yeah, I guess, but
or even like if you could screenshot it within the game, and it's like
sure.
or you take a photo or
Yeah.
something. Like, is there a camera within the game?
I mean, there is, but not of. It wouldn't show up here because this is UI. Like, there's a photo
recording
mode.
device.
No,
or,
no.
there's something in there that
You don't like it?
rubs me the wrong way a little bit.
You
where
want
it's like,
you want an in-game notebook?
Because it's futuristic but doesn't have
Yeah.
it's
a
like
log.
conveniently ignoring this
Mm.
thing that
Yeah,
could
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
I
exist
get
and
it. Like
exist.
I have. I'm sure, like maybe Neverwinter, or I have played games that have had in-game notebooks.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
also, No Man's Sky, up until this point, has never required me to keep notes of
Right.
anything.
There, the game, The Secret World. I don't know if that still exists, but like it was an MMO from a long time ago. And I remember
No.
going on press tour, and one of the things they're showing us was like there is a built-in in-game browser
Mm.
because there are puzzles within the game that require free-form problem solving, and the browser is creating an in-game browser means that we can filter out websites that just straight up tell you the answer.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I thought was a really clever solution. That it's
Yeah.
a game set in the modern world. You
Mm.
can kind of picture this is on your character's phone or laptop or whatever, and you're doing the puzzle within the game with the tools the game is giving you, but still in a freeform way.
Mm.
That is my ideal solution. Is
Yeah.
like give the player the tools they would want that make sense in world
Mm.
to do the thing that you want them to do.
Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But I also don't, like I just said, I don't know if I do need to record
Yeah,
them.
that's fair.
I simply am recording them.
Yeah, well, I'm more just talking about what I like at this point.
Yeah.
I'm having my own little rant.
All right.
Blake, are you still here? Paul,
Hi.
have you been playing anything?
I have.
Uh huh. Is it PoE?
No, I pretty much done with PoE.
Okay.
I essentially usually get to a point around like between like level 93 and 97 where I feel like I've gotten as far as I'm going to without.
That's pretty far. When you hit 90, that's when it really slows down, right?
Yeah. I feel like it's a lot better now than it was a few years ago.
Okay.
It's not like 95 is really the first point where if you're dying, things will start taking like a lot longer.
Right.
I feel like around there is about the point where you finish the Atlas kind of thing. So up until then, you're really just progressing.
Did you do all the end game elements?
Not all the in-game bosses.
Is this still your summon Raging Spirits character? Nice.
Yep. And it did end up slightly different than the other ones I've played. But
So
yeah, I don't know. Some of the bosses, they get expensive to try and require learning movement patterns and things that.
yeah.
Okay, so do you know much about the Maven fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but I remember writing helping write the dialogue.
Yeah. So the whole like memory game thing,
Yeah.
that is not for me. Like my brain cannot keep up with dodging lasers and remembering a thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Whatever that skill is, I've got 0 of it.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Like it just will not.
Doesn't
I cannot
stick.
remember things
Yeah.
and be paying attention to dodging things at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't have whatever that is.
I think a lot of players sympathize with that. I remember a lot of people would just portal out. They would save. I think there's like 3 phases of that.
Yeah, of when it gets to the final part where you've actually got to remember like 7 things or something.
Yeah.
The first few things, it's like I can get through it.
Yeah. So that might just be a case of save your portal.
Yeah, yeah.
So what have you been playing?
So I might have picked up another mobile game.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Hey, no shame in that. You know me.
It's Monster Hunter now.
Oh, yeah.
So
I played that as well.
Yeah, I really like it, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah.
It's for anyone who doesn't know, it's basically like Pokemon Go, but like Monster Hunter, and you actually there's actual combat.
Yes.
Which I'm really into because I never really got into Pokemon and Go and stuff because there was just no
just tapping.
engagement.
Yeah.
But Monster Hunter I like so far. I picked it up a couple of weeks ago, played the tutorial, and then just immediately stopped playing it.
Yeah.
Because I had some real jank stuff go on in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
But then a bunch of people were talking about it at work during lunchtime.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, check it out again because people are obviously enjoying this game. And yeah, I like it. I think it's...
I started playing it as well.
Yep.
I played maybe 3 or 4 days, sort of just on and off a little bit. And I've hit a wall. And I think the wall is when I saw how many upgrade tiers there are.
Yeah.
And I went, "Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is good. This is years worth of like gameplay they factored in here, and I don't know that I have the patience for it."
That's fair.
And
I don't know either, but like, I'd never get to the end of grindy games, right? Like I was just talking about PoE. Like I'll get to the last 10% and be like, no, I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah.
But I'm quite happy to play until that last 10% and then give up.
I do like that it seems like if you don't upgrade your weapons, if you're really, really good at the combat, you could probably still fight pretty much anything.
Yeah.
They do seem to gatekeep the like difficulty though.
Yep.
Which that's something I'm not so keen on. Like I would love if I could stumble across. So the way this game works is like you've got different monsters, they spawn randomly, just like Pokemon. And then you've got different tiers of monsters as well. So like there's like a 1-star big monster versus a 2-star big monster. 2-star big monster is going to deal more damage and have more health, right?
Yep.
It might even be a little bit quicker with its attacks or something.
Yep.
And I suspect that there's probably like 3, 4, 5-star monsters.
Yeah, so I've unlocked up to 4.
Yeah.
And what I found at 4 is that they actually get new abilities as well, which is interesting.
So, I wish I could just encounter those as opposed to like have to grind through a few weeks of gameplay to like get to those
Yep.
monsters. Um, because I would love it if it was a game where, cool, yeah, it's you probably aren't ready to do this thing, but if your reaction speed is really really good and you're willing to sit there for half an hour chipping away at its 1,000 health with your one damage weapon or whatever.
So there's a problem in that for whatever reason they've decided to have time limits.
Oh yes, that's true.
So you only get a minute,
I-
and in no case would you be able to actually defeat the thing in a
Yeah.
minute, which might be really frustrating.
Yeah, you're
I'm not
quite right.
stoked about the time limit thing in
Yeah.
general, but I kind of get it.
You-
I don't
you
feel
say
like
for
it's the
some
right
reason-
solution.
And the reason is money. The reason is they want players to like have to grind and upgrade in order to take on those tough fights.
Yeah, but money doesn't. You can't just pay money to get through that. It's
can-
really a time-based find resources thing.
Or do you mean the company is making money on the longer you play?
Ye-
That means that they've made it more grindy so that
So the cost of upgrading weapons goes up with each tier, including the Zenny, which is their actual gold, which you can buy in the store.
Oh, can you straight buy the
Yes, you
Zenny?
can.
I've had so much of that.
Yeah.
Zenny, at least how I've been playing, has not at all been the
Hasn't been the
limit.
bottleneck.
No.
Yeah, I suspect it. I could be mistaken, but I suspect it will become the bottleneck.
Okay.
Often for these free-to-play games, you will be flooded with the bottleneck resource early to encourage, like, oh, it's all gameplay driven. If you fight monsters, you get the other ingredients, and that's how you kind of upgrade.
Mm.
And then, although I will say, there's another mechanic in there which is doubling monster drops. Which
Yes.
is another thing you can pay for.
Yes, you can.
So there are essentially two layers of potential bottleneck there, which is like the rare resource,
Yeah.
which you can. It's chance based, it's time based in that you have to like spend a lot of time grinding these monsters to find the monsters to kill them to get the drops or whatever. But then there's you can double the rate of acquisition by paying and using the drop doubler.
Yep. And because it's on a rare resource, you have to get lucky in the first place to get the thing you want.
Yeah.
And then you have the opportunity to double it.
Yeah.
There is in typical like Monster Hunter fashion, you can break parts.
Really?
Yes, so you can break parts off to get so you can actually like target the thing you're going for.
Oh, okay.
I
so
don't know if
I
it's
did
100%.
I've engaged with the break mechanic. So it's basically you target like a limb, and you can fight the limb.
Yep.
And then if you deal enough damage, the monster will like recoil, and you'll have an opportunity to get a bunch of hits in. What I didn't notice is that
Yeah.
also equates to the drops.
So it'll show the basic bar when you finish killing the thing. It'll show the basic like 4 or 5 slots up in the top row of like
Yeah.
you killed the monster, here are your rewards, and then there's like a broken parts bar that pops up underneath. So I've been using the hammer a lot because it just breaks parts. It seems to be breaking parts really well.
Intriguing.
And usually I'll get the corresponding part that. And it may be 100%. I'm not actually sure. I haven't actually checked if
Right.
it's
That intrigues me.
yeah.
Now, they have got like a multiplayer mechanic.
I haven't done any of that.
Yeah, neither. I
I'm
was
trying. I'm
hoping you
trying
had.
to get. I'm trying to get Stacey to like actually play it because I'm kind of into it at the moment.
Yeah,
And
I think it would be a hard sell for my wife.
yeah,
Have you found a favorite weapon set?
I enjoy the hammer at the moment.
And that's just
It's-
because of the capacity to break things.
The timing feels good on it,
Mm.
and it also feels like it deals a good amount of damage.
Okay.
One big downside to the game in general is that I feel extremely punished for trying new weapons because of the resource scarcity thing.
Yes.
I would absolutely love to go try like the bow and arrow, for
Mm-hmm.
example. I've unlocked I've got the parts to make one.
Yeah.
But those parts will also go into upgrading another weapon probably.
Yep.
And early on I tried a bunch of things. Ended up very disappointed that I'd spent the resources on the things.
Yeah.
And because to get more resources literally means going out and getting more resources.
Yeah, which means like actually walking around,
Yep.
tapping on things, fighting monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's both a time and energy sink, physically
Yeah.
energy.
That's tough to make a game that's like requires you to grind that much. That is also location based.
Yes.
Mm.
So there's an element to that that I love, which is like it's a reason to go and walk around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It's exactly the issue that Paul points out, which is it locks you in. It locks you into a weapon or a set of armor.
How early does it lock you into that?
Well, like it doesn't. It's just you start realizing pretty quickly that you're spending resources that you could be spending upgrading other things.
Yeah.
But what
Trying
Do I
things out.
do I want to spend 50 of this thing to get my weapon up to, tier 3? Or do I want to spend that 50 to get my tier 7 weapon to tier 8?
Yeah.
Like I can raise my overall power cap, or I could experiment with a lower
Yeah.
tier weapon and delay raising my
But do
power
you
cap.
you said you had enough resources to like craft a bow and arrow,
Yeah, I think I do.
right? So are there
Should check.
like do you pick a class or something that would just start with a bow and arrow?
No.
normally?
So the
So
way,
really, to experiment, you just have to use
Yeah.
resources that would be
yep.
Otherwise,
Otherwise-
used in upgrades.
Yeah.
So the way it works, you have a bunch of different kinds of weapon.
Mm.
Like a sword and shield, a big sword, a katana, a bow gun, I think is
Bow
another
gun.
thing.
Oh, cool.
Hammer, whatever else. And you unlock more over time.
Mhm.
And then within that weapon type, you have lots of different variants of that weapon type.
Oh yeah, which is
Which-
a good point too.
which have elemental attributes. So like this one will deal poison damage, this one will deal water damage, and monsters will have various weaknesses, which is a thing I don't love because before every fight there's this sort of weird micromanagement of like, okay, I have to get the right weapon out to deal the most damage. And then you also have armor sets, which follow a very similar pattern of like each monster you can fight has like a corresponding armor set you can build out, which has its own skills and resistances. So there are advantages to like building broadly early on in that you can experiment with a bunch of different things without like a lot of that sunk cost.
Yeah.
But then as you get deeper into the game, like Paul has,
Yeah.
where you're fighting like say 4-star monsters, it becomes prohibitively
Yeah.
expensive to like consider experimenting with a weapon when it's going to delay your capacity to like push further into the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so with this bow and arrow, when did you get the ability to actually craft it? Or did you have it from the beginning?
I think only like this morning.
Okay, so the
I
game's-
might have unlocked another bow and arrow recently, like in the last couple days.
Okay.
But
So the game is just basically like by the time you want to like drill down on one type of thing, one type of weapon, it's still throwing possible other weapons that you could try at
and
you.
then within that, a different weapon, different variants of that
Yeah.
weapon, and you can
Because
you can only upgrade one variant at a time. Essentially,
if you had the ability to craft all these different weapons
yeah,
early, then you can try them out. And it sounds like that there is some of that. But
They
when you
dump a
start
bunch
like
on you.
narrowing it down
Yeah.
and they're still throwing different types of weapons at you, you like the odds of you even trying it seem pretty low.
yeah, I really wish that there was just like a place to try out the weapons because
Oh,
I've,
yeah.
I've played other Monster Hunters before. But in fact, I played World and some other one.
Rise,
No, I don't think it
Is
was.
it- or maybe the one on the like 3DS. I don't know.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, Monster Hunter's been around a long time.
Well, Yeah, yeah,
World
it
was
has.
the big one. I remember that. I
Yeah,
even
because that
played
came
that.
out on PlayStation. I
Yeah,
played a
and
bunch
PC.
of that.
Yeah.
There
There was a few Switch ones as well recently.
Sorry, what was
Oh,
that?
sorry. I was just saying there was a few Switch ones like since.
Rise was the Switch one,
Ah,
and I've heard
yeah.
really good things about it, and I have not engaged with it. The thing that has always put me off of Monster Hunter is there is the grind, which is like time consumption, and then there is the fight, and the fight can
Which
be
is
like
also
20
time
minutes or
consuming,
30 minutes long, which is like time consumption. And if you,
Yeah,
if your grind does not pay off, oh boy,
Yeah.
why bother?
Yeah, I got into because I played a lot of World, and I fell off that when I started just grinding. Exactly like what you were saying. Like I saw they were like I saw that there were armor sets.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wanted those armor sets, but it required me to hunt the same monster over and over and over.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to do that.
I think I think the loop has merit in that, like, when you fight the same monster over and over again, you get better at it. So
You
it
do
takes
get
less
better.
time.
Yeah.
And you're upgrading your gear, so it takes less time.
You do get better. The monster I was hunting started off taking me like 20 minutes probably to
Yeah.
beat. And then I got that down to like under 5, which was
Yeah.
pretty good.
But 5 minutes is
Yeah.
still a long time. And
Especially when it's only a chance that they'll drop the thing that you need.
Yeah.
it's a lot of concentration. Those are not simple fights.
There's also finding the monster because it can roam around.
Yeah. It's
It can be a pain.
Yeah.
well, I think for me to enjoy that kind of game, those 20-minute fights or whatever need to be the barrier to a rapid upgrade of everything I've done before. So like you do that 20-minute fight, and everything that previously took 10 minutes or whatever, or 5 minutes or whatever, now it takes like a minute.
Yeah, you want to see,
And-
you want to feel that progress that you've just made.
And it's like, okay, now the grind is not so abhorrent, and yes, the next time I want to fight this thing is going to be another 10 or 20 minutes.
yeah.
But I'm probably not going to have to do it soon, and
Yeah.
it's that incremental game mentality that has destroyed my brain.
Yep. So Fabian, he's been on the podcast before, he loves Monster Hunter, and he's played every Monster Hunter. And I was telling him this the other day, and he said to me, his advice was like, don't worry about actually grinding for complete armor sets
Yeah.
until you basically are at end game. And then that's the end game.
Have you ever spoken to Reese about Monster Hunter?
He was on the podcast talking about Monster Hunter.
Yeah, because he made like a
Yeah.
very popular website.
Yeah.
He's like he's sort of a Monster Hunter genius.
Yeah.
I wonder if
He's
he's
famous in the Monster Hunter community,
is.
which I did not know going into that podcast. I discovered that during the podcast and was like
Paul,
blown
did you
away.
know?
No.
Yeah, you should talk to him about Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
I should play this game more, but I think the problems you've highlighted are hard to solve. I guess the one caveat to me is like if you consider each weapon type and subtype as its own opportunity to experiment. So to put it another way, you upgrade hard on one version of the sword and shield, and then you upgrade hard on a different version of like the hammer, so that like you have both elemental coverage and weapon type coverage, and maybe you can figure out that, like, okay, this boss is a lot easier if I use the bow gun than like the hammer, and so I'll upgrade the bow gun that is particularly good against it, elementally speaking, and then I won't really bother with the rest. And so you kind of maybe get the best of both worlds.
So what I've been doing is, I have a few, like, just this basic sword and shield of the element types that I upgraded early on that are carrying me through a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I have a hammer that I put a lot of resources into that I can kill most things at the moment with, regardless of their elemental defense. And like, it just means that it'll be a bit harder.
Yeah.
I'll deal a little bit less damage, but I can get through a lot of those fights. Like, I have beaten some of the 4-star monsters without the elemental advantage with just this hammer that I'm using.
Yeah.
I like the gameplay, the feeling of that weapon. So
I do think. Sorry, go ahead.
When did you fall into that being your build, basically? How far into the game?
Not that far. Probably a few days though.
How many different weapons did you try before that was the one?
Might be like the 4th.
Okay.
You started with the sword and shield though.
Yeah.
I then unlocked a greatsword, which was just too slow. I just kept getting hit all the time. Then I tried the bowgun. Absolutely hated it. After
I like the bowgun.
This was the thing that got me, was that I unlocked these new weapons, the bowguns. They sound like super cool. So I immediately get one and upgrade it as far as I can because like you can't really compare a maybe that's wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have upgraded it fully before really trying it. But yeah, didn't like it at all.
Now I'm curious, why didn't you like the bow gun?
The aiming was odd. There was no tutorial for it, right? Like I just couldn't figure out what was going on, basically.
I only used it once or twice, but as far as I can tell, it just kind of like has like a focused shot, which is like you hit a thing with decent damage like 4 times, and then it does like a spread shot for the next 3 attacks.
And there's like a reload in
There's
between.
a reload in between.
Yeah.
So it's about, and as far as I can tell, the strategy is kind of like you use your spread, you time it so that spread shots when the dude's nearby.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But it is slow, and kind of like the greatsword, it's hard to dodge with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. I'm gonna play more of it, I think. Now that I know that I'm not the only person in the world. So there's other people.
So how much are you walking?
Not much.
Really?
That's my big issue. Is like I don't go outside anymore. So my
So you're getting how far are you getting in the game with the
Not
limited
very
amount
far.
of walking you're doing?
not very far. I think my highest tier weapon. I'm monster rating 17.
Hmm.
I don't know what your monster rating is, Paul, but
I'll check.
mine does not feel very high.
I'm not actually like I only just unlocked the tier 4 monsters, the 4-star monsters.
Yeah.
I'm 28.
Yeah. I'm not sure if there's actually going to be more weapon types. There's going to be probably more subtypes, but like there's the sword and shield, the big sword, the hammer, the katana, the bow gun, and just the bow. That's what I've got. Have you got anything else?
No, nothing else now.
Yeah.
And there's not many others that I can think of. There was that insect glaive in World.
You're
Just
looking
trying to
at me
think
like
of
I should
other
know, but I
weapon
do not
types.
know.
There was in World, it just had a straight up gun, which
Oh
I used.
yeah.
That's the one.
That feels
I
like that would be quite overpowered
Nah,
in that world.
It really wasn't.
Yeah.
But it was really fun, the gameplay for that, because you could shoot. You had all these different ammo types, and you were just flicking between ammo types during the fight.
Yeah.
And you could you could shoot basically mines into the ground.
Huh.
So you
I
could,
never played that. I played with that insect glaive,
okay.
which is why it was one of the first ones that I thought of. I don't think
yeah.
you could make that work in this though. It's too. That
What
was too
What did that
like
do?
aerial. So it was like a weird sort of spear thing that had these bugs, and you'd send the bugs off to hit the monster in like different body parts to
Right.
charge them up. And then I think you could spin them as like combo points
Oh, wow.
to do like all this weird aerial stuff.
Yeah.
I really liked it because it was like you've got to do this sort of aim based charge the thing up. Like it wasn't just waiting. It was there was like a fairly minor skill component to like
Yeah.
getting ready to
But
be
you're
able to do your aerial combat
Yeah.
stuff.
You're still active in generating the
Yeah.
build up of what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So how much walking are you doing, Paul?
So during the week I don't do a lot. But I'm meant to in the mornings on weekends.
Okay.
Just to hit like step goals. Because during work I usually will take breaks to vape and do laps around the building.
Oh, cool.
Just to get steps in. And
Is that
to be
while
outside.
vaping?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Healthy.
Well, while vaping. Which is just to keep like a base amount of steps up during the day. And if I'm going to be taking breaks away from the computer, I'd prefer to be moving a little bit and just.
So one thing that I haven't seen in in Monster Hunter now, which I feel is missing, that both Pikmin and Pokemon, their versions of Monster Hunter now have, is like a thing that is progress based on total travel distance. So
Oh, like
in Pokemon you hatch eggs,
yeah, the
right?
eggs, yeah.
and in Pikmin I think it's something similar. You're blooming seeds, or you're doing something else. And Monster Hunter doesn't seem to have an equivalent.
I haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah. Well, what I they do have, which I like, is essentially passive monster tagging and
and resource collection,
which is nice.
What's that?
It's the same thing. Like in Pokemon, you know how you'd have to tap on a Pokemon
Yeah.
to catch it, unless you had like this special like doodad that you could buy
Oh.
that would automatically catch Pokemon as you walk.
Oh, wow.
Well, this is just passively doing the catching. Except that
Okay.
it's more like, hey, this monster's ready for you to fight. No
Oh, I
matter
see.
where you were when you passed it,
Oh, I see. Oh, that's neat.
you can
Yeah.
fight it later.
That's
And
cool
you
because
get
that means you.
5 charges of that a day, I believe.
3, at least for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
But
there must be an upgrade then.
you can also spend money to buy more.
Yeah, they're very expensive though, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a cheap game if you actually want to spend money.
Yeah,
And they also have like a limit on the amount of resources you can collect, which in a game about collecting resources is it's a thing you can also expand
Right.
for money,
For a little bit of money.
for a fair bit of money. So that is a little bit, you know,
yeah,
I don't know if and when I'll hit that limit, if I'll ever hit that limit. Paul, you
yeah. I'm
might-
not sure. So I've seen the thing in the shop.
Yeah,
I assumed it was for the pet that the Palico pet that does the passive collection.
the passive collection thing is quite minimal. It seems like it holds about 8 items.
Yeah, so I thought that I assumed
This-
that this was going to increase that.
I would be surprised if it went from 8 to 500 in a jump.
Oh, I
Um,
see.
But I think that I don't know what your starting limit is, but you can max it out at 5,000 or
How do I
an
even see
additional
how much
5,000.
stuff I've got?
Yeah, that's another thing. There's lots of hidden information.
Ugh.
Um,
It's made by the same company,
Item
right?
box.
yes, this is Niantic.
Yeah.
Niantic.
Oh, okay. So I have 891 things out of 5,500 capacity.
Okay, so you can cap up to I guess 10,000 or so.
It's a big cap, though.
It is. But there's like I mean I haven't actually looked at the specific number. My highest weapon tier I think is 3. Out of at least 10.
Okay.
And I would imagine that once you're getting to like grades 10 or whatever,
Yeah.
those upgrade counts are not like 5 resources, they're
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
like
yeah.
50.
And is it and what did you say? You're at 3,
Yeah.
and is that already a grind?
It's not like I mean, it requires me to kill specific monsters,
Yeah.
which I have not a lot of control over.
Mm.
That's you can see them on the map, but
Yeah, that's another thing I wanted to ask. Like, are there specific monsters in specific locations around?
yes. However, they've done an interesting thing. So the world is like different biomes,
Yep.
but the biomes seem to shift over time.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
By how much? Do they like fully teleport across the city or something? Like,
it seems like they're kind of moving blobs.
ah.
Yeah. I haven't paid full attention, but it does seem like that.
Yeah, it's quite cool looking. In fact, you can kind of see there's like blob shapes of like
Okay.
desert and then like blank, weirdly, and like marsh and then, and
And
like
forest.
yeah,
Swamp, forest, and desert are, I think, the 3 main ones.
I suspect they'll add more over time.
And how far
Yeah,
would you have to
probably.
walk to cross?
Not
All
very
three
far
of
at
them.
all,
Yeah, it's
and with the whole like passive collection thing,
Yeah.
I will go to bed in a desert region and wake up in a swamp region.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And then I'll have like some desert dudes saved
Yeah.
up or whatever, and I can fight.
Okay.
So
I mean, that's cool then. That,
Yeah.
that means you're still getting stuff at night, or when you're
Yes.
not, when you're stationary.
Yeah.
Because they.
It,
Like,
it
to be
will depend-
fair-
I suspect it will depend on where you live. I
Oh, yeah,
live
sure.
Kind of in an urbanish area.
But, like I think probably a lot of people are stationary for at least if they have depending on the job, they're stationary for like 8 hours a day,
I mean, they sleep too.
and they sleep.
So yeah,
So for a good chunk of the day, you're stationary.
Yeah.
And Pokemon Go, if you're stationary at work, you get nothing.
you get nothing. Yeah.
Stationary at home, you get nothing.
Yeah.
Like that's a cool system, I think, that
it
you
does.
can
It
catch
definitely
stuff
gives
at
you
night.
so like I'll open it a few times in the evening,
Hmm.
even when I'm like because like on a weekday when I'm not really walking around much outside.
Yeah.
So like it, and then there'll be just a couple things to fight.
Yeah.
But then also there's like for some reason there'll be like monsters that got tagged with paintballs that
Yep.
happen passively that give you a
Oh.
chance to like then fight those.
Yeah, neat.
So it means that on those days, it's not like going to be your main game to play, but
Yeah.
it's something to engage with, and
Yeah.
you still get to do some of the combat and
10
stuff.
minutes in the evening
Yeah.
or whatever.
I
Yeah.
like that,
What-
that there's some non-active part of it.
It's a
Yeah.
clever business move because I think Niantic's biggest issue is that every new game they create, which follows the same structure, risks cannibalizing in their own market.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah,
You can't play Pokemon Go and Pikmin at the same time
yeah.
necessarily, or maybe you can, but like,
How many
they're-
phones you got?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's more like anything that requires active attention while moving. You can't have two.
Yeah. This is,
So the fact that they can, it's clever for them to sort of try to divide that up a little bit.
especially because Monster Hunter is very different in that like some of those fights you can't do while moving.
Yes.
So you walk around and then like the easier ones you don't need to pay so much attention,
Yeah.
but like the harder fights you need to be paying attention the whole time. So with the paintball thing where you can like then tag it and go fight it at home later, like that's super handy. But also sometimes I find myself just being like, okay, I'm just gonna stand here on the sidewalk for a bit because this fight is hard and this was the thing that got me hooked on the game was that I was level really early on fighting a 1-star or 2-star thing, and I died.
Oh.
I died in my like phone mobile game where you walk around.
I haven't
and I was
died
like,
yet.
wow,
What happens?
they did it. They made a game.
What happens when you die?
It just like sends you out, and like you don't have to go respawn or anything, but
Yeah.
like
But
you
you
lose
that
the
away.
fight.
Yeah.
You're stuck on like 1 HP, which unless you spend potions, you're like you've
have
got
to
to go wait.
Yeah. Interesting.
And I've also had fights where I didn't beat them in time.
Yeah. I've had a fight like that, I think.
And that means there's failure states.
Yep.
Which I'm into in my video games.
Yep. Yeah, it's a very different audience it's appealing to
Yeah.
than like Pokemon.
Pokemon had a very community type thing.
Yeah, this seems to try that, but it's so far. I mean, Paul hasn't done any multiplayer. I haven't done any multiplayer.
There's no
It seems to be like more. It's more like here's a tough monster, and you can bring up to 3 friends to help you fight it.
but there's no teams that you're picking. There's no, like-
teams
No,
that
I
I've
haven't seen
encountered.
any
There's no-
stuff.
No claiming territory.
Yeah, they're claiming territory thing.
The whole like Pokestop and gym mechanic is instead just resource deposits.
Right.
Like they use the same geolocators.
Oh, okay.
Geolocations, whatever. But it's just like here's some crystals. Here's
Yep.
some
Bones.
bones. Here's some or bugs.
Yeah.
Is there any rare monsters that you found? And, like, there must be a tier system of because Pokemon definitely has that.
I think the rarity is the number of stars, basically.
I see.
Like as you get higher, you're gonna find 1, 2, 3, and 4 star monsters, and you'll probably find fewer 4 stars than 1 stars, right? So
So right now I'm 4 stars are quite rare.
yeah.
3 is still the main thing that I'm facing.
Okay, are you finding fewer 1 stars now?
Fewer 1 stars, yeah.
Interesting.
Which is interesting because you get the quest system doesn't really change that much. So it'll be like, slay 5 large monsters.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well there's only hard monsters
Yeah.
around, so I'm gonna be here a while.
I wonder if that's. I mean, I've been getting most of my tagged monsters as 1 stars, even though I can like find 2.
Yep.
I wonder if that's going to create a barrier for upgrading even more so. Like okay, you need low tier materials to get through the low tier weapons, and I assume you find kind of higher tier materials on higher star monsters, right?
Yes. Well, you have a higher % chance to find the rarer stuff.
Right. And you kind of if you're fighting like 3 and 4 star monsters, but you're bottlenecked by your upgrade materials, and you can only get you're using a grade 5 weapon or whatever, but you can only upgrade a fresh weapon to grade 2. You're never going to use that in an actual fight.
Yep.
This creates another gameplay problem where it's like, in order to actually experiment and get the weapon up to usefulness, I can't use that weapon
Yes.
for a long time.
Yeah.
interesting.
And I'm kind of curious how that's going to go because
I think the solution to that is the resource deposits around the world. Like
yeah,
you just
but
find
they don't drop like
don't
the
drop-
actual monster parts.
exactly,
Though, so
exactly. Intriguing.
I'm kind of curious because it also feels like the kind of game where you could completely shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
And
Paul, I have a challenge for you. Try
Okay.
and break the game. Ruin the game you love, please.
well,
We were almost out of time, but I've been playing Baldur's Gate. Have you guys been playing Baldur's Gate
I
at all?
played a little bit more, but not too much more.
Yeah.
I got a little bit into the shadow place.
Mm-hmm.
Had a few fights in there, but haven't gone very far.
I beat it.
Oh yes, you sent me a screenshot of some credits.
how
And
you beat the game?
Yeah.
Nice.
Or at least I got one ending.
Yeah.
Oh right,
However
of
many
of the
endings there are.
10,000 endings that they say they have. Yeah.
Yeah, I sent Blake a screenshot. I was just watching the credits, thinking this is a decent sized team, but not crazy big. And then I recognized the name rolling through the credits. Level designer Tom Mooney.
Ah, sure.
I had no idea he worked on this. He worked on Path of Exile.
Oh, I
for
didn't know
several
you
years.
didn't know.
Why would I have sent you that?
I because I knew he left for.
I had no idea.
for them.
Yeah,
But that's even cooler because you weren't looking
I
for him.
wasn't looking for
That's
him. I
actually
just
more
spotted him. I was like,
impressive.
"What?"
that you saw that.
Yeah, I was like,
That's-
hang on,
That's
hang on."
awesome.
So that's quite cool.
Yeah.
The level design in that game is quite good.
It
So,
is. It
I don't
is.
know which ones he did, but there's some really cool areas in there.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, there
lots
was
of-
only 4 level designers. There's like 3 leads and 1 level designer,
I think there.
something like that.
I may have only taken a partial screenshot. They may
Oh,
have had
okay,
some
there was
extras
more?
or something like seniors or,
Ah,
or
I see. Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But I mean, it's interesting because the levels are not big. The world is not big,
I mean, it's
but they are dense.
it's
They're
pretty big.
very dense.
Each map is pretty big for a game like that. There are other games, Divinity,
Yeah,
were maybe smaller, like their maps.
but I wonder if there are more. So
Maybe.
like
I don't know.
the game itself, I would say, spoilers for those who are listening, and if you guys
And present.
don't want to know, then
I
won't.
probably won't play it again, to be honest.
What?
Yeah.
That is, first of all, sad. Second of all, I'll have a chat with you later, Paul. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like maybe 5 big maps, maybe 6 big maps, and then lots of little ones and sort of like a few medium set pieces.
Big
But, like,
as big as
as in,
the
like-
river one.
Yeah, like there's like the
Or the
river one,
Underdark.
the Underdark,
Yeah.
the shadow area that you're in,
Oh, okay.
and then like maybe
The mountain is not big.
the mountain path is kind of
Mid.
I count that in the big.
Yeah.
section,
There's a
but
chunk
it's
of it
kinda-
I haven't explored yet either.
It's not that big.
Okay.
It's maybe a third of the size of
Yeah.
the river one.
Okay.
But like, to me the impressiveness is just the density and the different ways to engage with those maps. So I think the level designers did a very thorough job. There are issues in that there are lots of places where you can't reach objects that you're standing next to. As in, like, you try to loot a thing and it's like you can't reach it.
Yep.
Like I definitely can. So I don't know what's
Or
going on
your
there.
character does a weird scramble across across ground that you didn't expect them to go to loot something.
Yeah, there's a little bit of
Like-
that as well. Although that's what it's less
Sure.
about level design, more about like I guess their pathfinding.
Yeah, they'll just like go a weird ass route. I'm like, why are you doing that?
But their pathfinding is in some ways really impressive. Like when you get the flight, there's like a scroll of flying, for example,
Oh,
and you can
yeah.
fly to a location.
Yeah.
It will handle height pretty well.
Oh, cool. The verticality too is quite good in a lot of
Yes.
places. The Grimforge had. I spent
Oh yeah.
ages after basically clearing that area out and beating that boss of just exploring around, and I would see like the camera I'd turn the camera around and I'd see a ladder on a ledge that I can't even get to yet, and I'd be zooming the camera around trying to follow like how do I get there? Like,
One of the biggest issues with that game is just trying to look up
Yes.
Like see what's above you.
Basically can't.
It's like, okay, I'll go into tactical mode and I'll just keep scrolling out.
Yeah,
And maybe
so
it'll
tough.
Yeah,
show up.
there's a lot of janking the camera around.
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do better though, because
You don't want to give them full control of the camera. 'Cause
Yeah.
that creates even more
yeah,
weirdness and opportunities to kind of like ruin
yeah,
view. Although I've also had lots of places where the camera gets stuck in terrain and then you have to
Yep.
kind of
Yeah.
press the home button to get it unstuck.
I was a double click on a character and it just snaps
Oh.
back to them.
Okay. Yeah, that works
But
too.
that has happened a lot where you're, especially in that Grim Forge place, where I was like
Yeah.
looking all over the place and then my camera is like
Oh, yeah.
suddenly stuck.
You wanted to look at this jagged piece of wall forever, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I will just say that game is really, really very good. Well deserved accolades.
Mhm.
Contender for Game of the Year, even like in the context of Tears of the Kingdom having come out this year.
Mm. Elden Ring came out this year, eh? Was it this year or was it
No, that
last
was
year?
last year.
Was it?
Yeah, it has to be last
Oh
year.
my
Maybe
god.
the year before. It was a
Not
Okay,
the-
yeah,
it must be
no,
last year.
no,
It
it
was
was
last
definitely
year.
it was definitely last year. There's a lot of good games that came out this year, though.
yeah, and also a lot of duds,
Sure.
and also Starfield, which is
Starfield. Is that a?
that's undetermined. It depends on who. That is a Schrodinger's game, I think.
Yeah, some people I talk to absolutely love it, and then other people absolutely hate it, and
And-
it's just like I don't know. I'm not gonna play it because I don't know if I'm gonna be either side.
Yeah, there's also some players that are like hundreds of hours in who say they don't like it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so there's something. It's certainly not the masterpiece I think a lot of people were hoping for.
Mm.
And I think, we talked about it last time, but in the context of having it is a broad game,
Mm.
lots of things to explore, versus a deep game like Baldur's Gate, where it's like lots of ways to explore.
It's funny too because you say Baldur's Gate maps aren't big, but I think they are pretty big.
I think about it in
Are you thinking in the terms of like say Zelda compared to the
exactly.
Zelda map?
The world, the open
Yeah.
world,
But it's also
genre.
not an open world game.
Isn't it though?
No, I would not call it an open world game.
Oh, what's stopping you from doing things, progressing, moving around the map freely?
Well, it's not open world in the sense that, like Zelda,
Why not?
because you're confined to these maps.
I mean,
If you say in Zelda you're confined to a map,
map,
I think open world is just I know when I see it.
But yeah, but maybe it is just a question of scale, though.
I think it is. I think it is just a question
In
of
fact,
scale.
yeah, it has to be, because every game is going to have like.
It's gonna have a map.
I mean,
Unless you're talking
Ocarina of
procedural.
Time was considered open world.
Well, that was a long time ago.
So does
When there
that
were no
does that
open world
change? But okay, I think open world is less about the size and more about the method of exploration.
Open world to me is, do you see that mountain? You can go there. That's open world.
yeah, and
That doesn't exist in Baldur's Gate.
hard to disagree.
If you go to a good spot in Baldur's Gate where you can see the full landscape,
Sure,
there's land across the river in the
Sure.
first riverways
Yeah.
that you cannot get there.
and in Zelda, you go to the north of the map and you can see a big old chunk of
fine,
continent you can't reach.
Yeah, right.
There, of course, there are going to be boundaries.
Yeah, of
but,
course.
But you can traverse areas that you can see, and there might not be anything there.
yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
It's non-linear in the way that you can engage with the world. And
Yeah.
that to me that's the more defining characteristic of open
Yeah,
world.
that's fair.
I wonder if listeners have an opinion.
That's
on,
a great question.
on
So
this.
given that we're basically out of time,
Yeah.
I want to hear what you think about the term open world.
I'm specifically, if you played Baldur's Gate, if you think that's an open world game, I'm in the camp that it's not.
Is the world of Baldur's Gate open?
I think it is.
I say it's not.
It is. It is open world in mentality and smaller in scale than your typical open world game. But I would love to hear from you, listener. Email frontseatquestions@gmail.com. Tell us what you think. Tell us what game we should talk about next time.
Yeah.
If there's a game that is in our wheelhouse, fairly inexpensive and not, hundreds of hours time consuming, let us know. We want to.
There's the new Cyberpunk that's
I guess I should also throw out this other cat. It should be good.
It's a game that I want to play. Forget it. It's not good then.
I'm genuinely thinking about No Man's Sky. So
Wow.
No,
Maybe-
if you want to talk about like risky games to play, I legitimately considered playing WoW Classic,
Whoa.
ooh,
and that's a game that like I got very addicted
Yeah.
to in high school when it
Yeah.
came out.
Oh, wow.
yeah,
and
me
I've
too.
avoided touching it, but there's been all these clips on YouTube of people playing WoW Classic Hardcore and dying,
Yes.
and the nostalgia, man, the nostalgia of seeing the gameplay.
WoW Classic Hardcore, that's not an actual mode, right?
Yeah,
That-
it is.
Is it?
It's hardcore.
I thought it was just
classic
people
WoW.
imposing their own rules.
Nah.
Really?
You
Is
can
that
die
also
and you
enabled on
lose your-
PvP?
Yeah, must be.
There, but
Server-based,
there's it's the you flag yourself for PvP version, but there's also a mode of dueling, where just on any of these servers you can
Yeah.
challenge someone to a duel. There's like a duel to the death to the loss of your
That
character.
game is not made for
No,
hardcore.
it's not, which is why there's great clips.
I can't. I don't know that I can return to that one. I spent too long
Same.
in my formative years, very precious years.
How far did you get into World of Warcraft? How many expansions?
I played a little bit of Burning Crusade, and I wasn't even that
really?
into that.
So
Yeah.
that was just their first one, eh?
Yeah, actual just
Wow, so you-
vanilla
you
vanilla
didn't-
WoW.
Yeah, yeah.
I level capped up to Mists of Pandaria. That was my
Oh
last one.
wow. I think my last one was I played Wrath, and then I went back years later for Warlords of Draenor.
Oh,
To be
okay. So I
fair-
do think I did play a little bit of that, but only to check it out again and realize
Yeah.
that it wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. But I too have thought about playing Classic because that was when it was
That was the
the
golden
best
age.
time for me.
Okay, listener, we need an intervention here. So,
Should we all play World of Warcraft
we
hardcore?
desperately need an intervention. Please email, say Blake intervention to be the headline. Just yell intervention. Always Sunny style. We'll be back in a couple weeks. We love you. friends2questions@gmail.com. Email us. Okay, bye.
But
Tasks are oriented around things they're trying to sort of teach kids to
Okay.
do or understand.
Does she come home with a note stapled to her clothes?
No.
Okay, that is what.
What?
That's what.
That sounds like something to do for a special kid, Blake.
No. That was what would happen in kindergarten, is if there was
Uh-huh.
a
To you
like a
specifically?
note or something that the parents needed
Just
to know.
stapled to your
they would
shirt?
they would staple an envelope with a note to the back of kids.
All kids
clothes.
or
all
you,
kids,
Blake?
All kids.
Blake,
No, all kids.
this sounds suspicious. Paul, is this something that ever happened to you?
I have never had
Yeah,
a note
no.
stapled to me.
It was common.
No.
Everyone, and
Maybe in your class.
maybe.
Uh-huh.
They did say I was a special boy.
Yeah. Blake tried very hard today. No, I've never heard of that.
I would be surprised if they still do that.
I mean, at this point, they do internet.
Yeah, yeah, good point.
So-
They would
They
just
do
do that.
internet.
That was the internet. That was how you emailed a parent back in the day.
That's
Stapling something to
K-mail. Kid mail.